वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीर परा.
Namaste, Sitaram. On October 2nd, 2020, the Brahma Vidyapeetham International of Karatal Village, Trinidad and Tobago, under the leadership of Swami Brahmadev Upadhyay and Swamini Sadhvi Anandamai Giri, joins with India and the rest of the world to commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of the great soul, Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi Jayanti is recognized as a national holiday in India and was commemorated as the International Day of Nonviolence by the United Nations in 2007. Gandhiji, also referred to as Bapu, or Father of the Nation, became one of the most recognizable figures in the Indian independence movement and one of the world's foremost models of insistence on truth and nonviolent resistance, or satyagraha. His life's struggles was indeed his message, and even though he died in 1948, he is still a household name in homes, schools, universities, and parliaments throughout the world, despite race, ethnicity, rank, or position. His life's message is for everyone. My purpose is to give a short introduction on the life of this great soul. The philosophy of some of his life's messages will be dealt with by Swamiji and our guest. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in Porbandar, now Gujarat, on October 2nd, 1869, to parents Karamchand Kaba and Putlibai Gandhi. Kaba was the chief minister of Porbandar. While in primary school, Gandhiji was an average student and graduated from high school in Ahmedabad in 1887. He was married to Kasturbai at the age of 13. He wanted to study medicine, but this was not allowed by his politically aligned family, and he was pushed to study law and decided to do this in London. This was not a very easy task, as due to finances required, and also his mother's unwillingness to part with him, going to a distant land full of temptations. But also because the caste system to which he belonged forbade travel across the Black Sea. His mother reluctantly agreed, and he disregarded the class hurdle and traveled in 1888. He studied at the Inner Temple in London, one of the 4 London colleges. He then returned to India following completion. He travelled first to South Africa in 1893 to represent an Indian national with a case which he won. He saw the struggles and injustices faced by Indians in South Africa and decided to stay there to uplift the status of Indians. He soon became the leader of the South African Indian community and started the Satyagraha movement. He remained there until 1914 and later said that he was born in India but was made in South Africa. Some of his many achievements in South Africa included the Indian Ambulance Corps, the Phoenix Farm near Durban, considered the birthplace of Satyagraha, the Tolstoy Farm, and in 1906 led the first Satyagraha campaign against the Transvaal Asiatic Act, and again in 1907 against the Black Act. He was jailed in 1908 and again in 1909 for organizing these movements. In 1913, he fought against the nullification of Hindu, Muslim, and Christian marriages, and then led one more peaceful resistance campaign against the oppression of Indian miners before leaving for India in 1914. Upon return to the British-controlled India in 1915, Gandhi had acquired the skills of both an accomplished lawyer and a community organizer dedicated to peaceful protest. He was warmly welcomed in India, who took a deep interest in his works in South Africa. In fact, it was in 1915 he was ordained as the Mahatma, or Great Soul, by Rabindranath Tagore, a name he was not too fond of. He took a year of political silence upon his return to learn about the plight of the Indian people and traveled throughout India. He founded the Satyagraha Ashram near Ahmedabad. Here, he dedicated his new works to the cause of the untouchables, or Harijans, who he called the children of God, and accepted a Harijan family into the ashram. He lost many supporters and friends for this action. In his first campaign of nonviolence and resistance in India, he fought against the oppression of farmers in Bihar who were forced to cultivate indigo by the British at low prices and high taxes. The cultivation of indigo was abolished. He then learned the instrument of fasting, not to put the opponents under pressure, but for his own meditation and inner cleansing, and to show solidarity to the starving workers. He encouraged his people to boycott all that was British: jobs, clothes, schools, British goods, etc. He encouraged the production of one's own clothing and promised to wear only khadi, a cloth of hand-spun cotton. Spinning wheels were then distributed throughout the country so that Indians could produce their own clothing. Foreign cloth was burnt. The spinning wheel became a sacrament of India, and the Indian National Congress eventually incorporated it in the national flag. He was arrested and jailed several times for the many uprisings that followed. In 1924, he was released due to complications from an appendectomy. Though his main opponent was the British Empire, he also tried to change his own society, especially with regards to the untouchables. He freed the Harijans to enter the temples and to even vote in elections. In 1928, Nehru demanded immediate independence from the British, and Gandhi asked that the release take place over a 1-year period. Clearly, the British did not oblige, and this led to the Salt March, which was the biggest act of civil disobedience in India. In 1942, another roundtable meeting to discuss independence took place, but again not successful. He then urged the Indians to do or die, and this created revolts throughout India. This led to further arrests of members of the Indian National Congress, including Gandhi and Kasturbai. Unfortunately, after 2 years, Kasturbai died, and a very weak Gandhi was released in 1944. After the war, the British Empire crumbled, and there was now negotiation for independence, the terms of which were agreed by the Indian National Congress, but not agreed to by the Muslims, which led to violence against Hindus and unrest in India. This fight for peace was his most difficult. He insisted that violence cannot be conquered by violence and that hate must be overcome by love. Gandhi stressed the equality of all religions. The mood of the country settled, but the partition of India into India and Pakistan was a great worry for Gandhi, as his life's fight was for unity. He described the partition as a spiritual tragedy. In 1947, independence was celebrated. Religious unrest, however, prevailed and escalated. He used fasting to try to bring peace and actually predicted his death and gave a statement prior: "When I fall victim to the bullet of my assassin, my soul will breathe out its last with the name of God on my lips." On 30th January 1948, Gandhi was assassinated at a prayer meeting. Nehru's monumental speech summarized the works of this great Mahatma, and I quote, "The light has gone out of our lives, and there is darkness everywhere. I do not know what to tell you and how to say it. Our beloved leader, Bapu, as we call him, the father of the nation, is no more. The light has gone out," I said, "and yet I was wrong, for the light that shone in this country was no ordinary light. The light that has illumined this country for these many years will illumine this country for many more years. And 1,000 years later, that light will be seen in this country, and the world will see it, and it will give solace to innumerable hearts." For that light represented something more than the past, immediate past. It represented the living, the eternal truths, reminding us of the right path, drawing us from error, taking this ancient country to freedom. Thank you, Sitaram.
Generations to come will scarce believe that such a one like this in flesh and blood walked upon the earth. This is how Albert Einstein described Mahatma Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who was born 151 years ago on October 2nd. On this day, we celebrate his birthday and the International Day of Nonviolence, which came in his legacy. His life was his message and has been acclaimed, honored, and revered worldwide. Today, with Brahma Vidya Peetham International, we celebrate his birthday and his life. Mahatma lived with simple, frugal, and practical virtues, practicing non-violence throughout his life. He had the experience of living on 3 continents, and to the average person is known for his reforms to the Indian diaspora in South Africa and his attainment of independence of India, both with non-violence and considered miracles. Now, 72 years after his death, are we as individuals, a community, a nation, adopting his great tenets and example? Are we non-violent? What is non-violence? One might say it is to avoid wars, riots, or violent protests. But except for the great wars, war-related deaths occur for 20% of the annual deaths from violence. Suicide and homicide comprise the majority of the 1.6 million people who die annually. And without realizing it, violence has become a way of life. Violence is defined as the intentional use of physical force or power, threatened or actual, against oneself, another person, group, or community that results in or has a high likelihood of resulting in injury, death, psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation. The spectrum includes self-abuse, family and domestic violence, child and elderly abuse, sexual assaults, and institutional violence. In the community, it presents as racial, social, political, and economic violence, human trafficking, and slavery. These are the modern-day forms of violence. Arun Gandhi, one of Mahatma's living grandsons, shares a story about himself as a 12-year-old child. One evening, on returning from school, he threw away his used, now 3-inch pencil, knowing that his grandfather would give him a new one if lost. That night, however, his grandfather surprised him and instead sent him with a torchlight to retrieve his pencil. A search that took 2 hours. Mahatma explained to young Arun that by discarding his pencil, he had in fact shown violence against the earth's resources and mankind. Mahatma also had Arun draw what he called a family tree, in which he listed his daily acts of violence. In one column, he recorded his acts of active, physical, or intentional violence, and in the second column, acts of passive violence, where he abused or neglected someone. Arun recalls that his passive violence line was always inordinately longer. Gandhi was a simple man who did simple things, but achieved so much for the world. So how can we learn from Mahatma's life? How can we be advocates of nonviolence? How can we live well knowing that peace, truth, and love always win? We can start with ourselves. Remember Arun's family tree of active and passive violence? It shows us that it is really our daily deeds and misdeeds that add up. It is how we treat our spouses, our children, our parents, our families and friends, and all those with whom we interact. Today, let us ask ourselves, Who am I hurting, and what can I do to stop it? Violent persons have had the seeds of violence planted within them from early on due to exposure to some form of environmental, physical, economic, or emotional abuse. Today, in starting with nonviolence, let us choose to sow seeds of love, kindness, and compassion to others, and in so doing, become the change that you wish to see in the world. Gandhiji's famous words. Let us become nonviolent in our homes. Happy spouses eventually have happy, well-adjusted children, who in turn become happy parents later in life. Happy, well-adjusted children become happy siblings, and with similar happy friends, we can have a greater chance of having a non-violent community or nation. Mahatma has famously known to say that your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. You are destined to greatness. Start with nonviolence. Gandhiji's life was his message. Let us receive and transmit his message.
Swami Brahmadevji and the Brahma Vidyapeetham International on the celebration of Mahatma Gandhi Jayanti, International Day of Non-Violence, Friday, 2nd of October 2020. Thank you so much for the opportunity to send this message, and wishing that all the participants enjoy a very special day full of meaning and content and with great benefit for everyone. Humbly, I want to present to all those a message from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi about ahimsa, speaking of non-violence. And Mahershi's message about ahimsa is based on how ahimsa comes in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali as one of the yamas. Contrary to what normally we have thought in the field of Ashtanga Yoga, it's not that each of the steps of yoga, the 8 Ashtangas, they go one after the other, but Maharishi considered that they were all like a body, and they were the limbs. And the limbs means they go together. They grow together like in a body, the arms and the legs, they all grow together. In the same way, the body of yoga grows simultaneously. And in this vision, the relation of ahimsa as non-violence comes from the nature of the state of yoga. The state of yoga is that state of infinity, non-changing, non-duality, infinity. Being that state, being unity with all, can never be offensive, because that state that occupies and is everything, there is no sense of foreign with anything, and there is no possibility of offense. There is no possibility of violence. And that is the state that Patanjali referred as the full state of ahimsa. Ahimsa comes naturally when the individual life is put attuned with the universal life. When the individual raises his status to the experience of yoga, the natural quality that develops is, among them, is ahimsa, is non-violence. And that non-violence is because it's unity yoga. And unity is immortal, not subject to mortality. It's infinite, not subject to finity, to finite values. It's stable, doesn't change. It's unity that has no difference. Therefore, it's not possible for that state of unity to be offensive and violent. Patanjali, non-violence is the natural nature of being, which is nourishing to all because all is part of itself. And in our individual life, in our life as individuals, when the individuality is overtaken by the experience of universality, when the universality breathes in an individual life, that is non-offensive. The small individuality is taken by the big being without violence because it's its own nature. And that is how yoga, taking the individual life to the universal life, does it in a non-offensive way and makes it in a beautiful, peaceful, natural state of unity. That is the thought of the great power of ahimsa when it's based on yoga, which has the ability to accomplish an enlightened individual and a peaceful society. With our very best wishes, with the desire that this is a reality for every individual and for the whole world, we present our deepest pranam to Swami Brahmadev, our Vice Chancellor of the Maharishi University in the Caribbean. Namaste.
वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराए जाने रे
वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराए जाने रे पर दुखी उपकार करे तुए मन अभिमान नाने रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराए जाने रे
सकल लोक मान सहने वंदे सकल लोक मान सहने वंदे निंदा ना करे के नीरे
निंदा नगरे के नीरे काच काच मन निश्चल राखे धन धन जननी देनी रे वैष्णव जनता तेन कहिए जे पीर पराई जाने रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीर पराई जाने रे
Aradupe upakare kare doye manabhiman ane re
सकड़लोकमा सहुणे वंदे
निंदा न करे के नीरे जीवा थकिय सत्य न बोले भर धन नव ज्वले हाथ रे
वैष्णव जन तो दीने कहिए जे पीर पराई जाने रे
वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे वैष्णव जन तो
तेने कहिए जे महामाया व्यापी नहीं जेन दृढ़ वैराग्य जेनो मन मारे.
In navigating these times fraught with economic and social uncertainty, made worse by the ravaging impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, as a panacea, we can resile individually and collectively to the palliative tenets of Gandhiism. Widespread personal grief, apprehension about our daily survivability, the increasing loss of jobs, strained social relationships, loneliness and social isolation, with its corresponding mental wear and tear, characterize this seemingly never-ending and hapless period. Inspired and inspiring leadership grounded in Gandhiism is probably what is needed from the top to the bottom in global societies. Compassionate, caring, meritocratic, and service-oriented leadership is waning. And we need to reboot our sense of humanity if we are to ascend to the nirvana that we seek and so desperately need. The corridors of governance globally are in great need of peace, harmony, order, compassion, and mutual respect. We require leaders to be enablers and advocates of peace and social harmony, leaders with an ingrained philosophy of our humanity that truly defends, protects, and sustains the common good. We need leaders true to their conscience, doing right to all, without resorting to acrimony, discrimination, division, and discord. Reflecting. One hopes that leaders at home and abroad, wherever they are, institutionally ensconced, will recognize, as Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King Jr. did, two visionary leaders affirmatively guided and inspired by the transformative power of Gandhiism, that the teachings of Gandhi are a mechanism for peace, order, good governance, and a just society. The critical impact that Mahatma Gandhi had on Martin Luther King Jr. in forging a U.S. civil rights movement and activism steeped in nonviolence is uncontroverted. Martin Luther King Jr. embraced Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence as integral to progressive civil rights activism. Gandhi referred to this initiative as satyagraha, meaning true force or love force. The guidance driven by satyagraha encourages the individual to seek out truth and love, not supporting or participating in doing wrong. And it is this fundamental tenet of Gandhiism that freed India from the shackles of colonialism in 1947. Martin Luther King Jr., as a Christian preacher, connected Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence to the teachings of Jesus Christ and his eternal message, and I quote, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." In his treatise, Pilgrimage to Nonviolence, Martin Luther King Jr., in a moment of sheer epiphany, wrote, and I quote, "I came to see for the first time that the Christian doctrine of love, operating through the Gandhiism method of nonviolence, was one of the most potent weapons available to oppress people in their struggle for freedom." End of quote. Nelson Mandela, in his article in Times Magazine on the 3rd of January 2000, wrote, "Gandhi dared to exhort nonviolence in a time when the violence of Hiroshima and Nagasaki had exploded on us. He exhorted morality when science, technology, and the capitalist order had made it redundant. He replaced self-interest with group interests without minimizing the importance of self. He was the archetypal anti-colonial revolutionary. His strategy of non-cooperation and his non-violent resistance inspired anti-colonial and anti-racist movements internationally and in our country, South Africa. Gandhian influence dominated freedom struggles on the African continent right up to the 1960s because of the power it generated and the unity it forged among the apparently powerless. Non-violence was the official stand of all major African coalitions, end of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing genuinely fixes through violence or the dissemination and perpetuation of violence, and more than ever, in this world of strife and division, we need a common influence by adhering to the teaching and philosophies of Gandhi. Through Gandhiism, we'll be able to move away from retribution, revenge, and bad mind in our individual and collective lives. For as Mahatma Gandhi so remarkably stated, and I quote, "An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind." Nonviolence is therefore a torch that must never dim. Gandhiism is relevant today as it was for the last 125 years. Governance and genuine leadership are never about the exercise of raw power, but must be steeped in an embracing service that celebrates our humanity and the resilience of the human spirit. Our leaders need to be reminded that what Gandhi said yesteryear is pertinent, relevant, and game-changing in today's political construct. That, and I quote, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others," end of quote. Gandhiism is required more than ever as COVID-19 continues to take a toll in its many hydra-headed forms. There is a fear that if we don't change and we don't take charge of ourselves with the diminishing world resources, and a world where fear, apprehension, and blame are peddled in a manner to enslave the unsuspecting, we will move away from multilateralism and resort to the tribalism of nationalism and the law of the jungle. Each man for himself, each country for itself. Gandhi's philosophies can be the balm to the social wounds of challenging communities and societies caught in the riptide of dysfunction. There is a constant need to free people from the morass that envelops their daily lives, especially in a social environment where politicians honestly feel and are convinced that you can fool the people not sometimes, but all the time. As we continue to celebrate the invaluable contribution of Gandhi and Gandhian philosophy and vision, and its role in shaping the world, I wish to acknowledge and commend once more Rana Mohip, musician par excellence, from Trinidad and Tobago, who was lauded by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his rendition of Gandhi's favorite song, Vaishnava Janato. It is a bhajan that was composed in the 15th century. Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted in October 2018, and I quote, "Rana Mohip from Trinidad and Tobago gives his voice to Bapu's favorite song. Gandhi Ji's message of kindness, compassion, and truth reverberates throughout Trinidad and Tobago, which has a proud history of unity in diversity like India." It's amazing how the world sees us. The bhajan speaks of devotees of Lord Vishnu as persons who respect the entire world, do not disparage anyone, keep their words, actions, and thoughts pure, feels the pain of others, help those who are in misery, and never let self-conceit enter their minds. These are values and time-worn traditions that are perilously coming close to extinction in this materialistic society of ours. In 1909, in his book Hind Swaraj, Mahatma Gandhi cautioned mankind against unrestricted industrialism and materialism. As we continue to commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of the man that led India to independence and who sought to deconstruct the caste system and social inequities, we must actively apply the philosophies and ideologies of Gandhi in a contemporary context, in the corridors of power, in the boardrooms around the world, in the houses of parliaments and congresses of the world, and in every aspect of our personal lives. The conflicts, inequalities, and challenges that confront the world can be mitigated through Gandhiism if ideas and actions are grounded in peace, vision, and all things good and honorable. I thank you.
Message from Sri Nitya Bajrang Das Ji of India. The birth of our Mahatma Gandhi is celebrated all over Bharat and abroad. It has also been accepted as International Day of Non-Violence. When one looks into the pages of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, one can see very clearly that one must accept and adopt the principle of yam, self-restraint. What are they? Ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha, non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, right use of energy, and non-greed. Gandhiji followed these principles of Patanjali and used it as a truthful and peaceful way to force the British government to return their land. The influence of ahimsa and truthfulness were in the mind and life of Bharatiyas already, as all schools of thought contained these thoughts. Life of Buddha, Mahavir Swami, and contemporary sages like Narayana Guru, Swami of Kerala, Swami Dayananda of Arya Samaj, Yogi Arvind, and many others carried these thoughts to reform the society. The great Bhimrao Ambedkar adopted the same principle to save the society. Mahatma Gandhi's life and thoughts paved the way as a leader for independence. Many Indians at that time followed him wholeheartedly, but there are some who oppose his views also. Recently, our Swami Tilak also followed the same principle and way in word and deed to propagate spirituality and yoga all over the world. Bare feet, penniless, simple and humble, tirelessly he went around the world only to meet seekers of the real path of yoga and spirituality. This day is great to remember that a son of this planet gave us a wonderful divine personality who lived a life of non-violence and truth, and forced the conquerors to return peacefully. Let peace and harmony prevail. Brahma Vidyapeetham International is celebrating the 151st birthday of Mahatma Gandhi, International Day of Non-Violence. This year, our organization, with the pioneering vision of our founder and Peetadhish Swami Brahma Swarupanandaji, is celebrating this momentous occasion with a theme, Mahatma Gandhi, My Life is My Message. Swamiji, today in the globe, there are so many changes, there are so many new thoughts, new philosophies, and new personalities who have emerged since Mahatma Gandhi. There is a great paradigm shift in the globe today. So, what is the relevance of Gandhiji in this modern age?
Gandhi ji, I think he is more relevant in this modern age because so many changes has come. That changes has come as he declared before, as society developing, so all these changes will come, so that what will be remedy, what will be answer of the future problem. He wrote everything in the own book Swaraj, Hind Swaraj. In the Swaraj, he is told in future, then pollution is coming because industrial development has day by day going to develop. So due to the industrial development, pollution will come. We are looking that. He has given the idea, not big industrialism, not big industrial setup in the country, but small, then pollution and smoke will be less. Second thing, he told many countries, they are in race in the arm and weapon. We are looking in the whole world, every country, and they are want to dominate in the whole world, and the whole world. So, I'm looking China, in India also, America, and Japan. Now, how many atom bomb, hydrogen bomb, in the one bomb can spoil the whole world? So Mahatma Gandhi message is very relevant about this weapons and then arms. Third, he has given economical progress is not enough. Spiritual progress also necessary. If the spirituality will come, spirituality is the quality of the inner man. Economical progress, social progress is a progress of the external man, material world. So he always thinking both should be balanced. Third thing, next thing, all this quality, truth, non-violence, celibacy, simplicity, harmony, and love, he has given. But all this quality before Gandhi was that individual quality, how the one man will be better. For this thing, love, compassion, truth, non-violence is necessary. That is a great experiment of Mahatma Gandhi. All this individual quality, how to implement in social life, how this quality will be social property and world property. He has presented the example, living example, how this good quality should be a social quality, social property. So I am thinking Mahatma Gandhi is more relevant. Next point, he told about the family life. Now the family life has no structure and broken. I know that. And his wife, Kasturba, Mother Kasturba Bai, one day, and Sarojini Naidu, great leader of India, she asked Mahatma Gandhi, who is in your eyes, who is a more pretty woman in your eyes? He answered, my wife. My wife. So Sarojini Naidu, she asked to the Mahatma Gandhi wife, Kasturba, Mother Kasturba, Gandhi told, you are the most pretty woman in eyes. Gandhiji told. If Gandhi told, it is true, because he can't be lie. So he presented how the family life will depend on the two pillar, mother and father. Third is a children. Children. Always we are at present fulfilling the desire of the children, not the thinking about need of children. Due to this, now children is out of track of values and morality and character. Mahatma Gandhi's son, Hiralal, he asked, Father, give me money. I will go for study in London. Okay, I have no money. I am very poor. Okay, how? I saw the plenty money in your room. Okay, boy, that is not my money. That money is the national money. People donated me in my hand to fight against the Britishers for freedom. So social money is not my money. My money, how this money I can give you. Please don't go for study in London for the to be law education. So he didn't give. That is ideal. That nowadays politician and politics and all the big people, they are thinking about self, about the children, about own family, not thinking about nation, about society. That is a great example of the Gandhiji. I am thinking Gandhiji is more relevant in modern age.
Gandhiji's thoughts depended on two pillars, truth and non-violence. Is the world going away from this message today?
These two qualities, that is universal quality, truthfulness and non-violence, man should be true. If he will be true, so his personality will be not divided. Because people thinking wrong, doing wrong, behaving wrong, speaking wrong, so his mind, his tongue, his work is different. Man will follow the truth. He will be a complete perfect man. That perfect man will be not unsatisfied, will be not unhappy, and no quarreling, no differences will come if everybody follow the truth. Now the society is telling, I am businessman. How can be true in business? So Gandhi told that is a sin. Business only for profit, that is a sin. But business to make a rich society, that is a good, otherwise sin. Politician without principle, that is a sin. So they follow the principle of truth and non-violence. He told all the religious people, they are spirituality without the humanity, that is a sin. You are spiritual progress want, but not ready to help the humanity, that also sin. He has given 7 type of sins. So now, if the human being, whole society is ready to follow the peace and harmony, so two quality is necessary, that is the truth and non-violence. Non-violence. Don't hurt to anybody by word. Don't hurt anybody by action and hand. Don't hurt anybody in thinking. Don't think wrong about anybody. So give love. think in peace, then with the truth to be truth and follow the non-violence, not hurting to anybody. So then automatically peace will come, because peace will come first of all in your heart, and then peace will come outside. So first yourself, Gandhi told, first you be in peace, then give the peace to society, again give the whole world. On the basis of truth and non-violence, he told, follow the slogan, he told, live and let live. But Mahatma Gandhi said, no. If you start to live, so you finish, your life and energy finish to live. And when you give the time for to let live, he told, no, live for let live. He has given example, one lady pregnant in hospital, one baby born, baby started to cry. Nurses told, hey, give the milk of the breast. She told, no, I know the ideal, live and live, let live. I will be happy, my peace will, my suffering will go, pain will be finished, then I will give. Because live and let. Because no, Mahatma Gandhi told, no, be suffer. After that, you give the milk to the child. You may be suffer, but think about the betterment of society. He told, live for to let live. So, that is the ideal. But all this good quality and highly thoughts, people telling Gandhi thought is the utopian. But all great thing in utopian, utopian in imagination. But all utopian thought became materialized. As the utopian was to fly in the sky, but prepare the aeroplane, then aeroplane we are running now. So Mahatma Gandhi thought not utopian, that reality. Please, everybody think what Gandhi told. Gandhi told he has taken all property and wealth of the all great thinker of the world and put in the own life. That is a Gandhi. That Gandhiji told, my life is my message. So I am thinking truthfulness and non-violence, that is a great pillar of the humanity for peace and equality.
Swamiji, in closing, as we celebrate the International Day of Non-Violence and 151st birthday of Mahatma Gandhi, can you tell us, why do you like Gandhiji's life, his message, and his philosophy? What about this great Mahatma, his quality, his characteristics? Why does Gandhiji appeal to you?
Nowadays, at present, his appeal, his touch my heart. His great follower, Acharya Vinoba Bhave, I was 28 days with him. He was walking by feet, village to village. 28 I was. He was the very staunch devotee of Mahatma Gandhi. He told, now the society, from biological development came in psychological development. Psychological development, evolution has come. It means that is a more stress, more depressed, then confused, then not able to take decision properly. So that because we are in psychological evolution stage, third stage is coming, that is a spiritual evolution, divine consciousness. If we are going, making the progress for divine consciousness, so Gandhiji told, please think how man will be superman. So due to this one what touched my, how he started the life to live very life. Individual life, personal life, social life. he was very perfect and practical, or very pragmatic, and not utopian, not imaginative, totally reality. So Mahatma Gandhi was real, has the real life. Due to this, he wrote biography, autobiography. He wrote the experiment of truth. His book name is the Strength of the experiment of the truth. My life is a laboratory. If today I am telling, that is a good. Maybe I can get the other day more facts, then I can change my thought. So I am pragmatic, always changing with the truth. He told, my truth, personal truth, no use. That should be our truth. Whole society accept that. Not our truth, some universal truth. Universal truth is a more important. Light, we have diya, that is my personal diya. We have the bulb, light, that is social light, social truth. But sun is a shining, that is universal truth. So he told, for personal truth to go social truth and to the universal truth. Then when I read this thought, when I was intermediate class, I read all his book in Hindi. Then I realized how perfect life, how this correct life, how pragmatic life, how scientific life, always ready to experiment like a scientist, and life is my lab. This word, touch, as at last he declared, my life is my message. My life is a message. So this word, Mandela of South Africa, Obama, Einstein, Dalai Lama, all this great soul, he is worried about the world peace. Who was working for the harmony in the world? So they have given, I am inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. I am follower of Mahatma Gandhi. So my no racial, no caste, no creed, no community, no country difference. We are only children of God, and we are the humanitarian, human, pure human. So this thought touched my heart. Due to this, I am following the Mahatma Gandhi full footprint. Footprint. So due to this, I am more interested in international day of nonviolence and the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. I want to propagate the peace. Many organizations, they are doing the great work, and United Nations also celebrating the International Day of the Nonviolence. I am with them to propagate everywhere, everywhere.